Right. It gives us great pleasure to introduce our third speaker for the evening, Hatesa Silmanutafa. She is a human collections technician at the Museum of Canterbury and the only technician of Pacifica descent here in the South Island. She has studied fine arts at uni, is a sculptor, also does tattoo design, and just wanted to honour you as someone who holds the space for all of our oceanic taonga that are in the museum. So please, let's give her a warm link welcome, Hatesa Silmanutafa.
How do I stop it from going saying, is that okay? Okay. Kia ora mawhaatala whalavātu. I'm really nervous. Yeah, okay. Sorry. So Daisy asked me to speak tonight, and I thought I wasn't going to because I just came from a hui up in Rotorua for professional Māoris in the GLAM sector, galleries, libraries, archives and museums, and so I was there. So I made it, and I thought I'll just start with how I think I got into being creative and artistic. My brother's here, good. Right. So my mother taught me English as she was taught in the islands, so it's like really strict and different from what we learned at school. And my father, he made me read the entire manual for Wolseley's, because we were fixing Wolseley's. Other than that, we weren't to speak English at home. Education was important at home, but worldly music, TV, art, and other forms of English literature were heavily restricted. My mum would say stuff like, "Na la pisio satani," like just the devil's rubbish. And I remember her, I don't know if you remember, Lord, she picked up the TV once, walked it out to the front door and chucked it out onto the driveway, because that's how restricted we were. So instead of TV, family time, evenings really consisted of dramatic emotional prayers to directed at a Palangi man in the sky. And this was normally followed by ritual covering of mirrors, and then a hot drink and island storytelling time, pretty much. My parents should be on there. Yeah, these are my lovely parents. They met here, and they're both very confident speakers and preachers and performers. I'm a born and bred Cantabrian, and I feel like I was a disappointment to them because I'm just not a performer. And I was predominantly like non-verbal outside of home, and up to like in my teens. So I really struggled to verbalize my world, and so I think participation in it was pretty skint. And speaking is still the most difficult form of communication for me. I think you guys can tell that. But fortunately, though, at a very early age, I discovered that my hands don't shake, they don't stutter when I'm writing something. They don't have people ridicule me because I guess they're not weighted down with the nuances of a bilingual upbringing. In high school, observant teachers like Mr. Coates at Aranoi High began to engage with my scribblings rather than single me out for an answer or ignore me completely. So with his eyes wide open, him and other teachers, they started to allow my submission of assessments and it was just pretty much papers taped together showing nothing more than like a long line. I used to call them infinity lines, and they were peppered with like random words and patterns as a form of the required assessments like diary entries and stuff like that. So so art was misunderstood, I think. I think it was misunderstood at home. And it was forbidden, like I wasn't allowed to take it as a subject. And pretty much our art that was at home consisted of the lenticular Jesus pictures, you know, those. They were nearly in every kind of main room. So against my mother's wishes / law, I secretly enrolled in 5th form art at Aranui High. Thank you. I couldn't avoid how naturally my thoughts appeared on paper. I couldn't avoid how lines, patterns, and forms alongside words helped me to verbalize my world. So that's why I took it, 5th form art. Around this time in the mid-90s, one of the most pivotal events happened for me. Contemporary artist Michael Tawhiri introduced me to curator Matua Roger Fyfe at Canterbury Museum. White man, white place. It wasn't my place I initially thought. How wrong I was, because in the ethnographic storeroom amongst our material heritage, I encountered the wealth, intelligence, and mana of the people of Oceania. That's something that's not taught at schools. So, yeah, looking back now, I believe I discovered a secret world in there. It was foreign to me, but it was one I truly wanted to participate in. I now had this visual historical context to which I could locate myself, and there was no longer this nothingness created from a misunderstanding of religion, which is what I think I was brought up with. After a stint on the West Coast, and with that museum experience as my anchor, I completely shunned my mother's law and delved headfirst into a 2-year stone sculpting apprenticeship, followed by a year in Marae Whakairo, during which the workshops kaimahi, so the tutors, helpers, assistant, 2 of them, they made me put my portfolio together and send it up to Te Puia, which is a Māori carving school up in Rodas. And we did that only to test my skills. And so 3 of us sent our portfolios up, and mine was accepted. Thank you. But then they found out that I'm a chick and I'm not even Māori, so. But it was good. It was good to know that, you know, I had reached a certain level where I would be accepted into a school like that. So my carving tutor, he had to find, sorry, that's going way too fast. But my carving tutor, he had to find another place for me to go, and so, because they can only teach you so much. And so he said there's an art school in Gisborne, it's called Toihokora, and there's an art school in Palmy, and that's under Massey. And I said, I didn't know where these places were. I didn't know the North Island very well. And so I was just like, I based my whole decision on which one had the best surf, and which one had the best beaches. Yeah, and then he had said, Gisborne, there aren't any beaches in Palmy. So it wasn't easy to get into the school. It's a selection process, and I really needed to get a lot of the support from Pacific and Māori senior artists here and carvers as well. So they put in a good word for me with the director and that, and they really encouraged them to take me on, even though I have no Māori heritage. So I was accepted, and I'm really thankful to people like Konatapa, Maria Godinay-Watts, and a few of the others like Ricky Manuel, and a lot of them that backed me up. So this course, I completed a 3-year diploma at Tui Haukura. It's a school of contemporary Māori visual arts and design, and I majored in painting and design. This course is immersed in mātauranga Tui Māori, and is taught within a historical context using other forms of verbal learning, I guess, like using more tia waiata, haka and karakia. My time at Tui Haukura in Gisborne under the tutelage of Derek Ladally and Steve Gibbs is very, very precious to me. What I learnt has continued to inform my artistic practice, and it later has informed and helped me with my professional museum practice. So after studies, I came back to Christchurch, and I practiced as a sculptor and painter and tattoo designer, and I'm working mainly on private commissions and tutoring. It was during an artist in residence at Avonside Girls High School that my asking rate was challenged by a teacher. Her argument was that I had no teacher's qualifications nor a tertiary academic education. So I thought that was fair enough, but then she said, this is what she said, I know it is really hard for your people to do well at higher level education, but this rate really does reflect someone with the higher learning qualifications. Well, I thought Makotawhiri and the treasures of Oceania held at Canterbury Museum, the mātauranga Māori learned at Tui Haukura, all of that and all my previous experience taught me different. It taught me that my people were and are innovative, they're capable and they're adventurous. So off to uni I went. I needed to prove this woman wrong. Yeah. And it wasn't to get a teacher's qualification, but it was just to get a BA riddled with A pluses. So I achieved this in a placing in the top 1% at UC, and later a first class BA honours. So while an undergraduate, I was awarded a 6-month pilot arts internship at Canterbury Museum, where I worked on this, putting together a Southern Alps exhibition. That didn't play out, it's just putting it together and having it there ready for them when they're ready to have it. I've been employed at Canterbury Museum now for just over 5 years, and 3 years as a collections technician and 2 years as an associate curator, and that's in the human history curatorial team. Heritage is an area that creatives, I think, very rarely see a career path, and this is how I understand my placing as a creative working in the heritage sector. This is how I understand it. Creatives or artists, musicians, creatives in general, I believe, are vessels for cultural knowledge and production of cultural realities. and I believe that artefacts are manifestations of societal, individual, and cultural innovation, need, thought, and experimentation, language, and customs. That's how I see my relationship with the museum and its collection items. The skills and knowledge I gained from my arts background has informed, advised, and directed how and why I do what I do at the museum. Two examples, I was asked to lecture on a Pacific voyage on a tall ship from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution in Massachusetts, and I taught maritime history, but then I also taught about Pacific artists that deal with environmental, social, and cultural, political issues in the Pacific. So these cats, these students, they're like from really, really rich families in the States, because you had to pay a lot to be a student on that tour ship. It's so they're from a completely different world to me, and teaching them that I felt was really important because, they're sailing around in the Pacific. They should know what's up. So that was just one example. So this is me and some students. We were in Futuna here in French Polynesia, and it was, we went to a communal taro plantation, and it was just really great. This is also in Futuna. This is the lashing custom there. So this is the main one in the village, and it has every single family's family lashing. It's absolutely stunning to see that live, like a live custom. And so there was a lot of art in the Pacific living. Just to wrap up, this is only a very small look into my hikoi so far. I now consider myself in a place where I can create a sense of trust and care for individuals and groups who have previously been marginalised. And that means facilitating access to collection items and stuff like that, and just really caring about those people when they come to the museum. I don't work front of house because I don't really like dealing with people. So I work back of house, and I think it's really important. I really enjoy the challenge of providing a purposeful service while at the museum, because it can get like day in, day out type. And so you've got to really find meaning in what you do. And I think my arts background really does that, because everything I look at, it's not the same job and task every day. It's very different. And to be able to appreciate what's there is, I think, makes it very meaningful for me. And so that purposeful service, I like it to be flexible and open and inclusive and vernacular in approach and delivery. That means enjoying my creative abilities to encourage, support, advise, and direct community participation in establishing practices and discussions that's relevant to our cultural heritage, our lived experiences, how we represent and interpret each other's cultures, and how we conserve our shared oceanic heritage. I'm not sure if is that all good? Yeah. So that's me happy.